and I cried and went home crying. And so that was inside of me, like I was a bad girl. You are safe, you are held, you are beautiful, you are perfect just as you are. And every day, just look yourself, like just sit back and close your eyes and just feel that. Feel into what it feels like to be perfect.
I've dealt with this trauma. Cannot believe that I'm going to die one day. It upsets me.
Because people stop learning.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. It makes me really sad that people, they come to the point like, well, I'm in my 50s or 60s. What else do I need to, like, I'm done. They retire.
Welcome to MAMWAA. I'm Gordy, your host, and this is the podcast that includes you into my most famous song lyrics.
He's a middle-aged man with an attitude, and he didn't even have one till he met you.
That's right, I'm the middle-aged man, and my attitude will chatter us through all things that I'm passionate about, from spirituality, the gym and fitness, food, travelling, and music or movies. Quick disclaimer, this list is not exhaustive. So you can get on or you can get off and join us for the episodes that you like the sounds of. Dip in or dip out, as long as you keep dipping. Either way, we've got something to say and we're going in 3, 2, 1 area of growing up is that we forget about the child that we used to be. And it's actually a main part of becoming our unique self as an adult. And our inner child needs to be recognised. Welcome back to MAMWAA. I'm Gordy, and today we are talking about healing, specifically about our inner child and trauma. So let's get into it with our amazing guest today, spiritual life coach Alicia. Correct me, Alicia Farricielli.
Close enough, Farricielli. It depends on what part of the country you are.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on here. I'm super excited to talk to everyone about some inner child healing and some tips and techniques that they can use to implement actually starting today.
Yeah, me too. That's amazing because I've heard of and I've heard about inner child healing on other podcasts, but I've never really touched on it on our podcast. So I'm really excited to kind of get into it. Where are you from?
So I right now live in the Tampa Bay area in the United States. I'm originally from the Huntsville, Alabama area, but migrated over to Tampa from Nashville, Tennessee.
Amazing. What's that like?
It's amazing. I live 5 minutes from the beach. I can go to the beach pretty much anytime I want to, which is my soul healing place. It's beautiful weather most of the year. Right now we have a rainy, I guess you call rainy season going on, but yeah, it's a wonderful place to be.
Amazing. Wonderful. And if anybody is planning on going there for a holiday, what would you recommend? How can they get an authentic Florida experience?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, reach out to me, first of all. I'm happy to give recommendations. Yeah, the beach is great. I actually live in St. Petersburg area. So if you go to the pier, is a great experience for that. Tampa has amazing downtown river views to experience. There's so much stuff. You could probably spend a week here and still have stuff to do.
Amazing. It's like, I've only ever been to New York. I've never actually been anywhere else in America. So I hope to get to see it at some point.
Totally different.
And did you grow up there?
I didn't. I grew up sort of in the Huntsville, Alabama area. I moved around to different places when I was a kid, but that's originally where I'm from.
Okay.
I was born, yeah.
And we're about to start talking about inner child. So what was your childhood like there?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I grew up, I was a preacher's daughter.
Okay.
So everything they said about preachers are, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. It goes by. So I grew up in extremely conservative. By conservative, I mean extremely conservative, extremely, I call it strict household, where it was hellfire damnation type of environment, okay. Fear-based environment inside of that of me, which is attributed to a lot of childhood trauma. And again, I go back and I tell people, like, I'm not faulting my parents anymore for this. They did the best they could with the resources they had and their belief systems. And so once I was able to get over that, a lot of the healing started taking place. But I grew up I have 2 younger brothers. I'm close with my brothers. I didn't grow up in an extremely like abusive household or anything like that happened. It was just a very spiritually traumatic experience for me. I'm coming out of that situation.
And being connected so closely to the parish, then did that play a big part in you being so connected to the spirituality side?
So my dad's a preacher, is more of a it wasn't a Catholic Catholicism. It was a Christian church, but it was a very small, they don't denomination type of thing. So it was a very, there were a lot of things I was not allowed to do as a child because it was considered a sin, and I would be damned to hell for that. So as far as like parish wise, I mean, I'm not very familiar with, honestly, very familiar with the Catholic Church. However, this, that's what you're.
Oh, sorry. When I say parish, I just meant like holy place. Like,
okay.
I didn't specifically mean a parish. I'm not religious, obviously. So I don't know the difference, clearly.
Most people don't. Yeah. So it did connect me to, knowing there's a spiritual thing out there.
Okay.
However, it also was very hard to I had a lot of deconstructing to do to find that spiritual place where I am now, to find my truth and my beliefs systems. And so, yes, it did. I mean, I grew up like we had to memorize Bible scriptures and all the, stuff. And so it was very like ingrained inside of us, but it was more law-based or fear-based than actual spiritual practice that was going on inside of that. Everything was very to the T, like you went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. If you didn't go to church those nights, you were considered in a sinful state.
Okay.
And it was everything, like it was down to, like if you went to a certain church and you went across the state or went to a different state and went to the same church, it's like the same system almost going through the entire thing. Like you did your songs, your prayers, or all this kind of thing, like the exact same system. And it's kind of comical to me because it's just the way that they do things. There's really no reason for it.
So were you uncomfortable being in that growing up then?
I was never, so as far as like, my dad was always at smaller churches. So there was very limited amount of people and kids to go with. But yes, it was a very deep uncomfort level for me with people outside of that because they didn't understand why I couldn't do other things. And I didn't really understand why I couldn't do other things either. I couldn't go to dances. I couldn't be involved in cheerleading, dance, all this stuff because that was a sin to them. And so instead of being able to, for me to nobody would quite understand that. And so I had to dress a little differently. I had to do little things a little differently. It was not, something fell on a church day, then there was nothing I could do. Like I couldn't go there. I had to go with my parents to church until I was 17 and I started refusing to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I feel like I grew up as the odd child, the odd kid. I felt very different from other people, but I didn't feel like I was different from other people because I was special in this church situation. I felt like an outsider in both the church situation and also with, society.
That makes so much sense. I've got gaps in my childhood, and I have no idea why, but there's just massive blocks of time that some of them are like a year long, and I cannot remember what on earth happened during those periods of time. So when I think about that, this is leading to my next question, and I'm not going to ask you to specifically talk about your trauma unless you want to, obviously. But when we talk about inner child healing, firstly, how would you tell us what our inner child is? How can we see it? How can we feel that?
Yeah. So our inner child is almost like our 2 to 3 to 4-year-old self.
Okay.
It can be older. It's the child that's almost inside of you that feels sometimes, most of the time, our inner child is, we connect with it when it's hurt. So it could be something that is small as I call a little trauma that happened where a teacher told you something. And I always use the example of when I was, I think, 2nd grade, I had a teacher that got on to me that put my name on the board, and I cried and went home crying. And so that was inside of me, like I was a bad girl. And so my inner child at that time was like, you're a bad girl. Me growing up with not, doing I did certain things wrong. It was a bad sinful thing. So my inner child was still inside of me. It's always inside of you, but yeah. So that little hurt girl was inside of me. So think about yourself when you're a little boy. If, somebody got onto you or told you something was wrong, or they said you shouldn't do something a certain way. but you knew that you really wanted to do it a certain way. That's on small trauma. Now there's large traumas that happen in people, all had sexual, physical, like abuse that happens, like very traumatic things, and that really devastates your inner child. But your inner child can also be this joyful, playful spirit inside of you. So just think of how, a natural 3-year-old without any type of influence from anyone else would be. They're carefree. They have all these ideas. The world is like at their beck and call. They don't have nothing is stopping them from doing anything until we start, as as a society, as parents, as teachers, everybody, we start telling them, no, you can't do that. We start placing fears upon them. And that's really what your inner child is.
And they're there constantly. Yeah. Just waiting to remind us about all these traumas.
Yeah.
In a sense, I would say. Yeah.
They are there. It's your inner child doesn't go away. And you don't want it to go away. You want it to heal and to be part of you.
Yeah.
You still want this childlike spirit. Think about, you see these 89-year-olds on TikTok or wherever, and they're dancing away and doing these dances and stuff. How hilarious is that? They have brought their inner child out. As a 3-year-old would be doing something like that, not even the care in the world. It's such a beautiful place. And that's where we want our inner child to be. I'm not saying you have to go dance on TikTok or do all whatever crazy stuff. But you want your inner child to feel that's free, to be able to do what, who you are.
So we want to connect to the happy side of our inner child.
Yeah.
To get away from the childhood trauma that we may have.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So we can't get away from the trauma. We have to heal from that.
Okay.
We have to do some deep healing with that. If you have any type of large trauma that's happened to you as a child, I always will tell people, go get some licensed therapists to help.
Yeah.
There's something smaller. That's where I come in with helping people coach through things and kind of bring their inner child as an adult out.
And
I just want to go ahead.
No, sorry, carry on.
Oh, I just wanted to make that distinction there, that there is a huge difference there in our traumas. And so something that's happened, some type of abuse happened in your life or something you absolutely just can't overcome, you definitely need some type of, professional licensed help for that.
Yeah. So if, obviously with therapies there and professionals are there, but what if anybody listening doesn't know they've had trauma? So they don't think they need a therapist. Is there a way we can find that out, ourselves?
So traumas, as your body is ready for them, will start to, things that happen will start to appear. There's you can go through hypnotherapy is a good thing. I'm not a licensed with therapist or anything, but that's something that will bring out some things that happened on a safe level. So when you start thinking about, for instance, if you have you can't get along with people. I mean, if people you just I can't get along with people, or I have relationships that continue to fall apart. I don't know how to communicate with people. Those are typical examples of you have some small traumas. I'm calling them traumas inside of you that your inner child is screaming for. So a lot of times when we have relationships, I'll use romantic relationships, for instance. And you're in and out of a relationship, and you keep choosing the same people over and over again who are the exact same, and you're ending up with the exact same results. But you don't know why you're doing it. Well, maybe it's because let's say you're seeking attention from something that you were missing as a child. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could be that especially if you were in an abusive you had abusive parents or abusive somebody in your family, that could be tied into why you're repeating the same patterns. It could be as simple as somebody told you when you were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, you know what, you're ugly. And so you keep going for people that you feel are out of your league, but nobody's really out of anybody's league, by the way, out of your league. And you keep getting heartbreak and disappointment because they're looking for somebody different or something different in their lives. And so you wonder why you keep trying this, because you're trying to prove yourself. A lot of times when we're trying to prove ourselves through our business, through our relationships, through parenting, through our friends, materialistic things. We're trying to prove ourselves because our inner child feels the need that it has to prove itself to the world.
And then from that, I'm assuming then that we're constantly trying to work around those traumas that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bonkers in a good way, because like we know they're there. So then let's move into then the healing side of that then. So theoretically, we've highlighted our traumas, we understand what our inner child is struggling with and showing us as an adult. How does the healing process start? I guess it never ends, does it? Because there's always going to be parts of that.
Yeah, the healing part, that's the cool part about it. And when you start to look at, the first thing is change your perspective on healing. We can look at healing like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be perfect. Or we can look at healing as, cool, there's something else to make me a better person and to make me happier. And if you think you're happier, and when you get to a sport part, you're like, you know what, I think I'm truly have a little joy inside of me. Even if it's just a little bit, you look at yourself, you're like, but there's even more joy. This amazing gift I can achieve this. It gets exciting. So look at healing from an exciting standpoint and be like a brave and exciting standpoint. It's not fun. It's not, it's not a walk in the park on a happy, sunny day or anything all the time, most of the time. But it's once you get to the certain point of it and start peeling that first couple of layers off and you see the results of it, you're going to be almost addicted to getting yourself healed. And more and more and more. And healing is nothing more than to making a better version of yourself. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are some of these healing practices then? Like, what's the process to heal that?
So first, when you look in your inner child, I used to do a lot of meditations. There's tons of meditations you can find on YouTube, Spotify. I think my website, I may have a few of those on mine. I can't remember if how many I recorded on that and put up. But yeah, you can find those meditations and really just start to meditate and think about that. But look at your inner child and just every day, just put your hands on your heart and just say, you know what? And you can give your inner child a name. I call it, mine's little Alicia. You can call it whatever. If you don't want to resonate with your name, you want it to be something different, whatever. I'm going to call it little Alicia. It's okay. You are safe. You are held. You are beautiful. You are perfect just as you are. And every day, just look at yourself, just sit back and close your eyes and just feel that. Feel into what it feels like to be perfect. And if you can't feel that, just what would you imagine it would feel like to be happy with yourself? And to be that little child, just be happy. So you have to start the healing process by giving it acceptance, acknowledging it, and then letting it know it's safe, because all it wants to do is know that it's safe. What do children want when they're young?
To feel safe.
To feel safe and loved. They could care less about everything else. Safe and loved. And then that's what we've taken away from our inner child, is the safety and the unconditional love. So when you start doing that, and then really sit down and journal, what was it like when I was a kid? And start breaking this down. You can go back from what did my 3-year-old self feel like? Sometimes we don't remember that. I think I remember like 4 to 5 years old is kind of my beginning of like what it felt like. So what would it feel like when I was 5 years old? Did I, by that time I had a lot of different influential things coming into me. So I felt like I was nervous and scared all the time. I was kind of fearful, but I was also playful and loved to pretend and play with my dolls and stuff. Start writing all this stuff down. And then go back to that feeling of what that felt like, the joyful parts of it. And again, let your inner child know it is safe. It is okay now. You are safe now. I'm an adult. I'm now going to become your parent. So the cool part is we can parent our own inner child the way that we wanted to be parented. We don't have to be like, well, my inner child did this and this and that, it feels this and this and this way. I don't know what to do. How would you parent it? We all already have that inside of you. What would have made you feel loved at that time? Re-experience that. You can re-experience that through meditation, through journaling, and then just start to rewrite your story.
So from that, I've dealt with this trauma before I start, okay? So I'll just tell everyone listening, I've dealt with this already. But from what you're saying about remembering the joy from a child, for some people, that may have been taken away from them. So remembering it can be really difficult. I'm just I'll tell the story, and it's happened multiple times as a child. But when I was 7 or 8, I had a best friend who I used to play with all the time. And those were my joyful moments. We'd play with figures. He'd come over and play at my house. I'd go and play at his house. And he died in a horrific accident at the fun fair. And as a 7, I can't remember exactly how old I am, but as a 7 or 8-year-old, that was immediately and viciously taken away from me. And the visualizations I have of that are of his auntie and his mom, his auntie was there with him when it happened, and she was injured as well, but they came over to the house and told my mom what had happened. And it was such a big traumatic event, and as a child, I didn't realize it was traumatic. I was just being, what's all this commotion in the house? What's all this crying? What's this? And I was still trying to find my way. But that joyful part of my childhood was stripped away with immediate effect. I dealt with it when I was actually in my 30s, just as kind of a caveat to this. It wasn't dealt with until I realized it was a problem. But up until, I think there was a big 20-odd year gap there where I couldn't find joy before I knew I needed to heal from it. And that's just one of a couple of things I was going to kind of talk about when you said that. So let's just say some of our listeners are not sure how to find that joy. What would you say to them?
What's something that's made you happy?
As a child?
As an adult, as a child. Go back into that. If it's, to me, it's putting on some music. And I challenge everyone to put some music on, close the door with nobody around, and just shake and jam up and down, dance, whatever you want to do. Happy music, the most happy music you can find. Do that for about 10 minutes. And once you stop, if you're not you might be exhausted, but if you're not in a better mind, because you're getting your endorphins going, you're getting your dopamine, all this stuff going, you're calming your nervous system down. So try that. And that feeling of joy, that's what you're striving for. Yeah. If you grew up in a very traumatic, like I said, if you grew up in a traumatic situation from the time, like born, I'm talking major traumas, you need some time to learn and walk yourself out of that trauma. Maybe before you can find that true inner child. So there's probably some extra deep work that you need to do, again, with a licensed therapist or somebody that's, trained to work with you on that. A lot of time, going back to hypnotherapy could be another such thing that somebody wants to try. That will maybe talk to hypnotherapist, say, hey, I'm trying to find that joy that I had as a child. And they can walk you through memories that were happy. There's always typically going to be something that's happy that happened in your life. You went back and talked about playing with the child. Think about the feeling of playing. You still remember that feeling. We may not remember the memories, but the feelings of something don't go away. So people forget things that happen, but they don't forget how it made them feel. So go back and look at, how did that make you, what were you feeling? Joy, free, creative, energetic, probably a little masculine, like playing with your toys and stuff. Go back to that. You go back to that feeling of that. What can I do to recreate that? If that's going and buying a couple of Transformers and playing with them, then I'll by means tell you to do that. You don't have to tell anybody you're doing it.
But do you know what? That sounds like an amazing thing that I'd love to do now.
I mean, we're adults. Why can't we play with toys?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we've been too conditioned. We have to work. Stop working. Figure out if you are a workaholic, or if you're working and you are not playing at all and not having fun, you need to stop. And I promise nothing will fall apart. Take a day off and go buy something, a toy or something, coloring book. I have a coloring book on my desk that I'll pull out and just start coloring like a kid when I get stressed out, because I'm releasing some of that tension, but also bringing that inner child, something joyful. I'd love to color when I was a kid.
I do that in restaurants. And I don't have kids, but I'm like, have you got a coloring book? And it's good to doodle and just play with the colors and stuff. I just love that, yeah. But I used to
That's super,
dance as a teenager in my bedroom, um, and
I love that.
now and again, I just mime to music as if like I'm on a stage. I love it.
You get a microphone and sing and act, like
Yeah.
own it, like every bit of it.
So, like, let's move forward then. Your spiritual life coaching, because this must play a big part into that part of your life. So we're talking about finding passion and joy. What are some of the things that you may have heard that tell us that we've lost our way in finding passion and joy?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let's see how I say this, because
Okay.
so when I talk about spirituality, it's by spiritual is connection to, I call divine God source, the bigger picture universe out there. It's already inside of us. We already have everything we need. So when we start looking to outside sources, and I'm not talking about looking to things that could guide us back to our own truth and self. I'm talking about when we start adding rules, dictatorships, without going into too much details and political, whatever going on with religious, like the Olympic thing that came out with I don't know if you catch up with like the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
We have taken something, and I'm not saying yes, no, right, wrong, whatever on this, but we have taken something, immediately jumped to conclusions on what it was, instead of going into and really looking at it from an open minded, and we get very, very defensive. When we start getting defensive, we're in a religion. We're not in our spirit.
Yeah.
And so that's my take on it. So what connects me mostly is meditation. I teach people how to meditate, breath work, and I do energy healing, energy work with them. So that's how I combine that with coaching and inner child. So it's on working, like people working with me, it's more of on a spiritual level with that portion of it. We're connecting you to the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not connecting you to rules, regulations, laws, or religion. I'm not connecting you to that. I'm connecting you to your spirit. So I work with people with all different types of belief systems, because we're just connecting you to, we all have a common goal of divine spirit inside of us. And so that's what spirituality or spirit is to me, and how I work with that.
Yeah. And then like I work on the proviso that source energy is always connected to me, and source energy is wherever it needs to be at any time, but I'm connected to it at all times. When it comes to that inner passion and that inner joy, what do you think are the main things that we need to be passionate about when we feel those energies within ourselves?
Passionate about yourself. I mean, your self-worth, like looking at yourself and knowing that you're worthy just because you're here. You can find all the love, and go back to their child, same thing. You can reparent yourself. You can find all the love that you're seeking from other people right inside of you, because it's been given to us from the day we were born, created. That's what we were created to be and to do. It's nothing but pure love. And so when you find that love inside yourself, everything else looks differently. You're going to look at the world differently. You're going to look at your coworkers differently. You're going to look at your spouse differently, your partner differently. You're going to look at everything differently from that perspective. And it just continuous growth. So keep growing, keep healing, keep peeling it off, keep going. With the perspective of, it's such a beautiful thing. And you're getting rid of so much, I go back into generational trauma, getting rid of that, getting rid of things that are inside of you that they're not aligned to your true being, who you truly are. And we're love. And if it's not love, it's not you. It's outside forces.
I used to feel the joy from the meditation, or then I would feel the joy from my half hour of affirmations in the car. And then, like, I'm talking, for anyone who's listening, I'm talking about 20 odd years ago. And gradually it became more and more apparent that it was with me all the time. And then a couple of years into that, I could just turn joy on as but we're not turning it on because it's always there. But I could connect to that joy almost immediately whenever I needed it. And it's just when that starts to happen, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm preaching now, but when that starts to happen, you feel such a comfort in the world. You feel such a comfort in yourself, and that aura that you hold. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that.
It is.
And then I think, I mean, our journey here, you mentioned we're brought here with love. And I truly believe that, because the energy of love is always with us. Whether we want it or not, it's always
Always
there.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our journey could end at absolutely any time. So when we don't know when that time is going to finish and we move on to whatever the next plane is for us, what is the importance of the connection, do you think?
So we don't know, obviously, when things happen. However, every single day, it's living in the present. Don't live in the fear of the future of what's going to happen, all this stuff. Stay in the present. Because again, we don't know what's in the future. So why are we stirring about it? That's anxiety,
Yeah.
in my opinion. We don't live in the past. Most people live in the future, or they live in the past, or a little combination of most. Maybe 1% of the world lives in the present moment. And we're seeing that a lot going on worldwide. Staying in that present moment. If you want to stay in the past is the past. Let it go. If you can't let it go, rewrite it in your mind to where you can come to the future. Because if not, you're going to get depressed, stress, all the stuff. Being in the present moment and just noticing in conversation, like noticing. I mean, you could start with noticing people. Like, I'm sitting here looking at your eyes. Like, I'm noticing your eyes. I'm noticing your face, and they're like bringing it out. I'm still in the present moment. My mind is not sitting there going, what I got to do, 15,000 things to do after this podcast. It's right here in this moment conversation. So staying in the present, just working on conversations with people, staying in the present. That's a huge thing to start with.
And what you were saying about anxiety, like, anxiety is obviously a trauma response.
Yeah.
Like, and that's coming from something that isn't joyful, and it doesn't have passion. It's not connected to any of those things. And something you said earlier really resonated with me, which is that telling your inner child they're safe and they're worthy, or I'm paraphrasing, I can't remember exactly the words you said.
Yeah.
But when anxiety hits, I think it's really important to have that conversation with your inner child. And
Absolutely.
remind them, like, I'm safe and I'm worthy and I'm okay. I've got you. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. We've made it this far. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Think about it. You've made it this far. And I look at it like, what's the worst that could happen? I could die. To me, I'm in a comfortable place. I'm like, that's not the worst thing that could happen to me. I'm okay with that. Because I know my mission, like life, like my, family's will continue to move on. Everybody will continue to go. The world's going to continue to go. It's not going to stop with me dying. And I'm okay with that. Not that I really want to die or anything, like,
Yeah.
if it came to that point, it's like, that's the worst that can happen is I'm going to die. People don't want to feel anything uncomfortable. What's the worst that can happen? I'm being homeless. I can pick myself right back up. Because you know what? House, energy, everything, house is the energy, money is an energy, the way we function, everything is nothing but an energy that I can manifest and bring back into my life. And after you know that, there's nothing really to fear. Now, that's not to say I'm perfect and I don't get anxiety. I get like, they're like, wait a minute. Whoa, Alicia, let's go back, call your inner child down first. It's okay. Let's tell her, you've made it this far. You didn't think you'd make it this far in life, and everything is okay. What's the worst that could happen? You could die.
Yeah.
After you're dead. I mean, come on. Then you don't even care.
And that, for me, that is the worst thing that could happen, because I've got such a massive existential crisis about death. I cannot come to terms with it. And I'm 44 this year, and I cannot believe that I'm going to die one day. It upsets me.
And if it gets real.
And if I think about it, it just makes me want to die, but I don't want to die ever. And if there's one thing that we know is going to happen, we're all going to die. But
Yeah.
to this day, I just can't. It does not sit well with me at all. It never has. Well, what is it about death that you're okay with? Let's get into that.
I think the dying process scares more people than the actual death portion of it does.
Okay.
We fear the pain that goes behind it. And I'm not here saying I don't fear the pain that's behind it. I don't want to be, when I die, I don't want to die like in a painful way. But that's my soul. Because I know there's something out there next happening, and I'm curious about it. I mean, I've did past life regressions and know that I've had all these lives too. And I'm like, there's something cool out there just waiting for me to happen after I get through this journey of my life. Whatever it may be, it's going to be a beautiful thing, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to be on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I guess because I'm very easily can pick up and resilient and move on to the next thing. So when you have that mindset, it's kind of like, what's the worst? Yes, dying is like, we're sad because we're in this physical body and mind. Our spirits are never, the thing is when you realize your spirit never dies, it's always there. It goes, It sends back whatever. When you realize that, you're never really dead. It's just your body.
Yeah. I think
that dies and this life experience. But a lot of times we get scared and we don't want to die because we have either we're scared of the actual dying process, the pain that goes behind it, or we don't want the fun and the joy to end. And so it looks like it's probably more for you, like the fun and joy that doesn't want to end. But just know that there's probably more out there.
Yeah. That's, do you know, it's because it's so real. And I mean, I've done astral projections. I feel my energy whenever I need it. I can close my eyes and be somewhere else. I'm there with you. I understand there's something else. And I've been there. I've been to another plane. But I cannot remember what happened before I was me. If that's the scary thing. Like, I know there will be something else. No idea what it's going to be like. But the scary part that I cannot remember what happened before, and I actually think that I need a past life regression or I need a past existence regression to get me into that headspace. Because my mom, she had no fear. She's like, I'm okay. I'm ready. When's it going to happen? I'm ready. And she was like that for about 15 years. I'm okay. Like, take me when you need me. I was like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, we look at like past life, going back to like past life regressions and things. Sometimes it's not always the best thing to do because then we can keep stagnant in that.
Okay.
And that becomes our identity.
Yeah.
And that's not really who we are this lifetime. Our souls have grown and ascended more and more and more. So you have to be very careful when you start doing past life things and have that's your purpose behind it. But it's always like, why can't we just be curious? That was something that popped into my meditation 3-4 days ago. It's like, Alicia, what are you missing? I'm like, I'm missing that curiosity that I used to have of like, what if this happens? Well, what if this? Well, what if this? What if this? What if this? And it just, the joy and excitement that comes with like a childlike curiosity to it. So if we approach death like curiosity, then it becomes a little less scary. Because we're all going to die. I mean, that's given. We're not here for eternally. I mean, unless something happens, and I'll be fine with that too. We'd live like 500-600 years, as long as my body is physically.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. I guess it doesn't bother me too as much too, because I come from, on this lifetime, like I come from a family who has, my grandparents are like in their 80s, 90s, like late 90s, and finally passed away. So I have the genetically wise, and I almost feel it, unless something crazy, whatever, that I'm going to have a long life. But I want not a long life. And this kind of goes back into the way that you live your life too, and longevity. So it's like I set myself up now for a longevity life, because I know the odds and probability of me living a long life are pretty high. However, I don't want to live that long life and be sick.
Yeah.
And in a bad mental place. So everything I'm doing now, and I'm actually 44 too. So everything I'm doing now is setting myself up to become in my 90s just to be this amazing rock star person and live the life and joy that I want to live. And so many people aren't doing that. They look at their 20s like, well, my 20s, I didn't take care of myself very well. 30s, I started. I was like, hit that. I was like, I'm getting a little older, but probably you start feeling this down. So now it's like in my 40s, I'm like, I'm doing everything I can. So when I'm at 60, 70, 80, 90, I'm living to 100.
Yeah, me too.
My goal
Yeah.
is to be the same, have the same energy level and have the same things and still be doing the same work that I'm doing on a higher level at that age. And my mind, working on my mind, keeping things, my mind going. And never stop learning, people. Like I tell people, never stop learning. Never, ever, ever. Challenge yourself every single day to learn one thing. Because people stop learning.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. It makes me really sad that people, they come to a point like, well, I'm in my 50s or 60s. What else do I need to, like, I'm done. They retire. Never retire. There's like so much science, like in Japan, they don't retire. They live into their hundreds. Like this, the most longevity country there is. They don't retire. By retiring, you can retire from your job, but don't retire from sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Don't stop living. Don't stop. You just stop doing things. Don't sit on your couch watching Netflix all day long and doing things. Like get up and be physically active as much as you can and get your mind going. Do things that enhance your mind. It's going to make such a difference.
Yeah, I think as part of my existential crisis when I was in my 30s and I started to heal, I had this complete revamp. I was like, I do not want to die when I've wasted maybe 20 years on not looking after myself. I used to smoke 40 cigarettes a day, sometimes 50. I was out drinking all the time. I had addictions. I was a completely different person. But again, in my 30s, I stopped smoking. I went to the gym. I stopped drinking. I went 70 to 8% vegan. I just cut out all this stuff. And I've been like that for like 15, 20 years now. And if I ever stopped doing that, I'd be letting myself down. And it's not for everyone. I'm not, I don't mean to sound preachy to anyone listening. I'm just kind of spouting kind of what happened to me. But there are small things that we can do if we are worried about not living long. And I'm so adverse to medication. I hate medication.
Mm-hmm.
Hate it with a passion. A couple of paracetamols every couple of months if I've got a migraine. That's about it. But I don't know, do you get paracetamols in America or is it called something else? Is it Advil?
Yeah, ibuprofen, Advil, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, a push. But yeah, I want to live till I'm 100 as well. I might even move to Japan now you've said that.
Oh, you should. I mean, I haven't been yet. That's on my bucket list in the next years. Is like I'm going to Japan. Just the culture, everything. But like you said, you start taking yourself. And if it's like I'm unhealthy, if you feel unhealthy, even if you're like bedridden, start working on your mind.
Yeah.
Stress is the number one killer of all of us. It's stress. Everything in your body is stress related. So when we start looking at it from a holistic standpoint, you have things that are going on in your life. You get stressed out about something. Where does it go? It's stored in your body and it starts creating diseases in your body. And if we don't take care of that, that's why I tell my clients are like, I don't want to cry or I'm angry. I was like, go scream. It's okay to be angry. People get mad. It's okay to be angry. Get angry, get it out, and then move on. Cry it out.
Yeah.
You can't heal if you hold your emotions inside of you. And that's the biggest killer is people holding stress and emotions and trying to keep it all together. Don't do that. Do not. I did that for so many years. It caused so many issues with me, with, physical issues with me, not psychologically, but like physical issues with me, to where when I started releasing all that out, through energy work, through breath work, through meditation, through crying, through throwing things, through getting really freaking angry and just allowing myself, it's okay. It's okay to be angry. Do that.
Yeah.
Get angry. Go throw something against the wall. Go hit something at the bat. I'm just like, get it out. Don't leave it inside of you. Because when it's left inside of you, that's when your body starts to deteriorate more and more and more.
Yeah. And that brings us to the holistic wellness then that you work on. So when it comes to practices of ancient wisdom, I think you call it, and bringing that into self-care, How does that work? How do we do that?
So I'm a very, very much like your perspective of pharmaceuticals. And so I've worked with clients on an aspect of, we start working on the mental, because your mind, body, spirit ties together. To me, that's holistic health, wellness from my ancient wisdom. So we're going to work on your mind. We're in your body. What are you doing in the morning? Are you getting up and are you exercising first thing in the morning? Are you laying in bed? Get the phone out of your bedroom and get an alarm clock. It's the best thing ever. Like, don't get on your phone first thing in the morning. Don't start scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, all this stuff. Get your mind right in the morning. Do something physically active. And then what's the first thing you put in your body in the morning? Think about, like, is it you're going to McDonald's or whatever and getting a bacon, egg, and cheese McMuffin? Substitute that out with something else. Some type of fruit, something that's heavy protein besides like get something healthy in your body first thing in the morning. So we start with that. Start meditating, do something with your mind, do journaling, whatever you need to go for a walk. That's combining two different things in one time. Start doing that. If you just spend 15 minutes every single morning on your morning routine, and everybody can get up 15 minutes early. I'm not asking you to get up an hour early, 15 minutes early, and do these things. You're going to see a difference within 90 days. That's the approach that I take from that.
Yeah.
There are times for Western medicine, for pharmaceuticals to come in, but we're so overused. And instead of band-aiding it, instead of using it as a band-aid, you can use it to implement, to get yourself through something, but also start working on the process, working on the things that are going to make your body. So if you're a healthy person and you're full of medications and you're for hearts, for high blood pressure and stuff, but you're eating like crap and you are not exercising, you're killing yourself. What's the point? You're spending a lot of money and time on pharmaceuticals and you're killing yourself. So what if you took those pharmaceuticals and then implemented a plan to get yourself off of those as much as you can and get to a different standpoint?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very doable if you have the mindset. But if you don't have the mindset to that, the first thing to do is start working on your self-worth, because you are worth that. Everybody's worth being the healthiest version they can be.
Yeah. And it's what you said about never stop learning. If your life depends on it, you can learn about how to remove cholesterol problems. You can learn about how to get rid of diabetes. Nothing is irreversible. There's even people who have got terminal cancer who manage to just eliminate it by going completely natural. I know it may not work for everyone. I get everyone's different, but people do it. So learn about it. I mean, I've always said, if anything, touch Harrywood, if anything like that happened in my life, I would go straight to what they did and I would do it. Because what have I got to lose?
Exactly.
Health. No, I'll get it back. Right?
Exactly.
And you may add 30 years to your life. There's so many things you can learn. And just one more thing, like I talking about learning, there was an 79 or 80-year-old woman. I heard this story a few months ago, and she went and did a bachelor's degree. And somebody asked her, why have you done a bachelor's degree at this age? And her answer, going back to what you said about inner trauma and inner child, when she was at school, everyone told her she would never amount to anything. And that stayed with her through her whole life. And when she retired, she thought, just thinking about stuff, she realized, who are they to tell me I can't do a degree? So she went and did it. After living her life out, she went and did it anyway. And she's like, see, I didn't want to see my last day knowing that I couldn't achieve something. Everything can be learned. She did it. And I love it.
Learning, increasing her mind and growing her brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just love stuff like that. Okay, so that's fantastic. Like, I think we've covered so much there, Alicia. And you work through a lot of this on your podcast as well, don't you? Is it The Intuitive Revolution on Spotify and Apple?
Yes, and on YouTube now.
Okay.
And we've actually, starting this week, I've taken everything, not everything, most we have live videos on Spotify, but yeah, you can find everything. Things are being uploaded now on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Post your podcast platforms you can find. The Intuitive Revolution with Alicia Farricielli.
Amazing. I'll put all the links in the show notes for that anyway. So what about all your other work? If anybody wants to reach out and talk to you further, where can everyone find you and your work?
Yeah, so you can go to my website. I'm going to spell this out for you because it's a long last name. It's Alicia, ALICIA Reach out to me on there. Send me a message. You can book I think it's a 30-minute to 1 hour free consultation call that will chat about your goals and what you're looking to do. I also have on there is a free inner child workshop. It's one-on-one. It will get you introduced to a few things. I'll go over some techniques and stuff that you can do as well to get started on that. So yeah, go ahead and sign up for that. That'll be great. Some good information.
Amazing. Everyone's got to be heading towards you for all that help and support. Well, we've covered so much. That's been an amazing chat, Alicia. Thank you so much again for coming to spend time with us today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
That has been amazing. And thank you all for listening to the podcast and this episode of MAMWAA. It's been great to have everyone at home or walking or driving joining us for this conversation. And don't forget to drop us a comment. Keep the conversation going. You can subscribe to the podcast to make sure that you don't miss anything, and stay tuned for all the future episodes. You can also follow us on Gordy Camp TV on Facebook and at Gordy Camp on Instagram and Threads. So until next time, guys, look after yourselves, be well, and keep healing. Take care.